I lived in a violent marriage for years. I was very naive at first and didn't really know that people like him existed. He would often kick me, slap me, push me and trip me over, and even stand on my feet yelling abuse, calling me names like social cripple. When I started dating my ex-husband, I was 18 years old. I thought I had found the love of my life because he was so nice. He was lovely, even everybody thought he was the nicest person on this planet. We would eat together and watch TV together. He was such a nice and caring person. On my birthdays, he would buy me lots and lots of gifts. I didn't know he had this bad side. One day he went out and it got very late. I tried to call him but he didn't pick up. When he returned, I asked where he was, and that was when it all started. I got my first slap. I thought he was drunk, so I didn't really say anything. And the next morning he went out and bought me a gift to say sorry. Everything was okay for the next 4 days until I was in the kitchen and I accidentally broke a plate, and that was it. I got another slap. I knew then that something was very wrong, but my intuition just kept me silent, because I loved him so much. And it was only later that I realised that I was suffering, but I wasn't able to identify why. It was standing next to me and I was thinking that it was love.
So relationship abuse is when one person chooses to abuse another person that they're in an intimate relationship with. This includes people that are partners, boyfriend and girlfriend, but also can happen in families as well. It involves psychological or physical or sexual or financial abuse, and it's usually when one person is trying to exert power and control over another person.
Being in the relationship was like being locked in a prison, being tied up and unable to speak. Sometimes when we were out together, I disappeared for the whole evening and curled up in a nook. I felt better away from him, away from his mordant words. My eating habits were never okay, but with him at times I wasn't able to eat at all. He used to scold me in the restaurants, and even, at home he would say that I had bad table manners. I was not a sociable person by the time I met him, but I wasn't alone either. Eventually he made me believe that I had no friends. If I had any, I wouldn't introduce him to them because I was so afraid of being embarrassed. So he discouraged me from making friends, but still, he criticised me for being a loner.
Domestic abuse is always about trying to control another person, so it's about power and control in the relationship. We live in a really patriarchal society, so quite often men feel that they're able to control women, so that's a big factor. Although men can be affected by domestic abuse, it's significantly more women are affected than men. So the kind of society that we live in is a factor within domestic abuse as well, but it's largely about power control and one person choosing to try and control another person through using different forms of abuse.
I managed to develop a kind of bipolar life. In some dark moments I was desperate with pain, and in the clear moments I guess I could read the whole book on relationships 3 times and I would never admit that this actually applied to me as well. As they say, love is blind, and I was definitely blinded, but by fear.
Alcohol can be a factor in relationship abuse. It's not the cause of domestic violence. It's almost like it fans the flames, because alcohol lowers people's inhibitions, so it can make the violence worse. But someone is still choosing to abuse their partner. They're not choosing to go out and create fights in the street, and it's often a pattern of coercive control. It's within that. So although it can make it worse, it's not the cause.
He assaulted me more than once and would often hold my hand so tightly that it would hurt. The worst assault was when he strangled me and pushed me towards the wall. I was so petrified that I would make him more angry, and he never apologised for it. And I thought that I deserved it because I made him feel that way.
The effects of relationship abuse can be absolutely devastating. People that are experiencing relationship abuse can end up severely traumatised, but obviously they can also live in fear of their lives, and they can be murdered and killed. 2 women a week in this country are killed as a result of domestic violence by their current or former partners, So that's the ultimate impact of domestic violence. But obviously lots of women stay in those relationships and live with fear for years and years, which has a terrible impact on their emotional health and their physical health. People often ask why women don't leave the relationship, and it's not as easy as people think. Before a woman is often assaulted 35 times before she even reports it to the police, and it can take her on average 7 times to leave. At the moment, there's a real problem with funding for refuges, so even if a woman wants to leave, she might not get a refuge place. But there are lots of other practicalities. Often a woman is in fear of her life. If someone's being held hostage, we don't ask them why they didn't leave, because we understand that the risk of leaving is really high, and lots of women stay with their abuser because if they leave, then they're more likely to be killed. Most women are killed after they've left their partner, and that's the most risky time. So women are actually trying to survive by staying sometimes.
It was the 3rd Christmas when our relationship started to break. I was so afraid of losing him because I thought he would kill me if I broke up with him. I negotiated and served him for 2 months, but I knew in my heart that our relationship was coming to an end. No matter how I try and satisfy him, he was bored, and for reasons that I don't remember, he wanted me to leave. I thought my life was coming to an end. I remember after we broke up, his brother told me how much that he loved me, but I started to demand greater freedom. He even said that I had stopped worshipping him and was no longer attracted to him. It took me another month to realise that it actually wasn't true.